Hello everyone, my name is Caden and welcome back to more Chaos Head Noah. Last time, well, we saw we were looking at the aftermath of the earthquake and then, also learning about how, more about delusions becoming real, and then Nanami got kidnapped and we don't know what's up with her at this point. So yeah, a lot's happened, but we're in chapter 7 now. Before we continue, though, there is actually something I want to mention. I was let known that I should probably try and do more delusions going forward. Apparently, doing neutral doesn't exactly give you the most stuff. It wasn't my intention to try and avoid, like, content or anything. I just figured that neutral would be, like, the basic path, and then I'd go through and see delusions once we had to go through the game for the other endings again. But I apologize for that. If I've just been... sorry. But I apologize for that if I've just been missing out a lot of interesting things. That wasn't my intention. I just figured that all three routes would be different in some way, but if doing neutral is mostly this, like, missing out on a lot of stuff, then I'll try and do more delusions going forward. Apologies on that. Despite midnight quickly approaching, the ticket gates of the subway's Hansom online were still filled to the brim with people. The earthquake had violently disrupted the public transport. I did not read that. The earthquake had violently disrupted the public transportation schedules, and no one was even attempting to hide their frustration as they passed through the ticket gates. Employing a sidelong glance, Ban Yasuji inspected the monitor resting in the station attendant booth. The station staff had received a call yesterday during their morning operations. The caller had reported that a high school girl wielding a gigantic bladed weapon was going on a rampage in the area. The police had been dispatched in response to this, but upon arriving at the scene, they found no trace of the girl, nor the man who had supposedly been attacked. Oh, that's interesting. What? Hang on. Whoever the caller was had to have been someone who could see the weapons then. Or maybe this is something completely different. I'm not sure. Ban, who had happened to overhear the story earlier today, was very interested in the appearance of the male victim. The fact that there had been several similar incidents, had also caught his attention. This is why Ban was making an appearance here at such an hour. According to his sources, the incident had been captured in full on one of the surveillance cameras. When Ben asked the station attendant to show him the video, they willingly agreed, but warned the detective that the video was a little creepy. Duly noting this, Ben elected to have them show him the video. The video was full of static. Maybe it's from the earthquake, Ben thought to himself. There had been various reports about the earthquake causing citizens to lose hard disk data, leaving Ben to wonder if it was related. It would be difficult to identify anyone in the recording, as they were just barely visible. The recording featured a single man. He was standing by the wall in the far right-hand corner of the screen. The wall was located slightly far from the ticket gates, meaning passengers would not travel past it very often as they were changing trains. Incidentally, a few other passengers had just crossed in front of the camera. The man's appearance was hard to make out due to the fierce static, but he was fairly short and thin and was carrying a large rucksack. Another one of these, I don't remember what they called them, but it's one of those guys that are holding those devices to control by Nozomi. What exactly he was doing, Ban could not say. After about an hour or so had passed in the video, a small change occurred. A few people commuting to work were walking in the direction of the man, and then they swiftly stopped. To Ban, it looked as if they had been drawn to the man with the rucksack. What was truly strange, however, was that they did not even speak to him. They simply stood there in a daze. The people who had stopped did not seem to be acquaintances of the man. They were of different ages, sexes, statures. There was absolutely nothing they all shared. What in blazes is going on? Staring at the monitor, Ban tilted his head to the side, and as he did so, a lone girl entered the frame. She had long hair and was wearing a uniform from Sume Academy. I assume Sena. The girl headed straight for the man with the rucksack in a manner that could only be described as exuding nothing but pure, unadulterated confidence. Her movements were entirely unlike those who had stopped before. Instead of halting, the girl pushed aside the people gathered there and seized the man by his collar. For a short period of time, the two of them argued about something.
Rather than an argument, however, it was far closer to the girl simply screaming at the man without giving him room for air. Or at least that was how it appeared. A few of the people who had stopped seemed to return to their senses and promptly left the scene. Eventually, the girl thrust the man away from her. The girl took a step back from the man who had fallen on his rear, then assumed a strange pose. She lowered her hips and brought both fists next to her ears. The girl looked as if she was holding something, but there was nothing in her hands. According to the report, the girl had been seen wielding a large blade, but where on earth could she be hiding such a thing? The answer to that soon became apparent. Suddenly, the screen, the camera, shook. It was not static. The rustling hair and clothes of the passerby made it clear. The surveillance camera itself was shaking. What the? Interesting. So the camera did pick up the appearance of the weapon. Interesting. Ban gawked at the screen. He had no idea where she had retrieved it from, but the next thing he knew, the girl was holding a gigantic sword in her hand, one that was longer than she was tall. Ban asked for the tape to be rewound just so he could confirm what he had seen. But no matter what angle he examined it from, the sword appeared to have been conjured out of thin air. Interesting. So, I only have 2 ideas about what could be happening here. Well, actually 3. One is that maybe Ban and whoever it is that reported this incident could actually see the weapons. It would mean that Ban has a similar power, but it would also call into question who exactly is the caller. I don't honestly believe this one, but at the same time, it is possible, so I thought I'd mention it. The second idea is that maybe for some reason cameras can pick up on what's being like the delusion, the D swords. It might be possible that even though you can't normally, like people without the power can't normally see these, it might be possible for cameras to always pick up on them. It would mean that a camera would become a valuable asset in finding out, in like discovering delusions or whatnot, but yeah. The third thing I'm wondering, this one I'm not too sure of based on things we've seen before, but it's just an idea I had in my mind. Remember that earthquake? The one that caused everything to flash white? What if it caused a change in reality to the point... What if it was a delusion that was strong enough to cause a change in reality where now normal people could see these weapons? That's the only other thing I could think of. The girl had not moved a single muscle. She remained in her hunched position the entire time. This much was undeniable. What kind of magic trick is that? The people in the video went into a panic when faced with the sudden appearance of the sword, but the girl did not seem to care about the people around her. There's also one other thing that I'm starting to wonder if there's a specific name I should be calling some of these characters. It was mentioned before by Nozombie, something called a gigolomaniac. Gigolomaniac. Does that refer to like people who can use delusions or control them? The man with the rucksack, however, was very clearly terrified. He tried desperately to scramble to his feet and run away, but the girl would not allow that. With incredibly agile movement, she pursued the fleeing man and swung her gigantic sword as if it was light as a feather. In the manner akin to a violent windstorm, the sword tore through the man's rucksack to pieces. The impact was so strong the man immediately collapsed to the ground. Despite this, he appeared uninjured. In fact, when the police officers had arrived on the scene immediately after receiving the call, they had not even found a single trace of blood.
Who the hell is this girl?
Then, as if the girl had heard Ban's murmuring, something that should have been impossible considering it was a recording, she suddenly turned toward the camera. The screen ever so slightly distorted. The girl's figure disappeared in an instant. It was as if she had never been there to begin with. The man's shredded rucksack had been left behind, and the remnants of it were proof that the girl had been there. It was hard to tell because of the static, but it was clear that the girl had disappeared from the screen in less than a second. Ban rewound the tape again. There was nothing that seemed unnatural about the time displayed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. In other words, the footage had not been edited. But if that were true, how could Ban explain the girl and the sword? Van, feeling as though he had seen a ghost, could do nothing more than remain completely and utterly puzzled. Strange. Now, what's going on with freaking Takumi? A world of complete and utter white. And I was lying right in the center of it all. I felt as if I were floating, but I didn't know whether or not it actually was. I couldn't figure out what direction I was facing. Not up, nor down, not left, nor right. The silence was deafening. It felt as if there were hundreds of insects buzzing around in my head at once. If someone were to tell me that this was the afterlife, I couldn't see myself contesting it. That was how monotonous, simplistic, tranquil, orderly, immaculate, empty, and peaceful the world was. Perhaps this was what the mind of Buddha was like upon reaching enlightenment. It was so incredibly different from my own mind. I wanted to stay here forever. The irritation that came with reality, the loneliness, the pain, the suffering. I didn't want to face any of it anymore. As my thoughts began to cascade, I heard a noise burst into the white world that had been previously silent. The sound of a door being opened, and the sound of someone's footsteps getting closer and closer.
Oni!
Big bro, I'm here.
Ishu.
Let's see.
Oni,
Hey, big bro.
今日ね
Okay, so today I decided to bring you something real nice.
はい、
Alright, here it is. I got you a
プレゼン
present.
ト。手編みの帽
It's a
子なんだ
hand-knit
よ。
hat. Looks so
す
nice
ごい
and
でしょ
warm, doesn't it?
す
Well,
ごい
it
で
is.
しょもう冬だしね。
Anyway, so the story is, you know how much I already like hats, right? Well, since it's winter and all, I went ahead and knitted one.
使って
So
ね。
go on, try it.
もう鬼
Come on,
無
don't
視しな
ignore
いで
me.
よ。お
Oh, you still got some
ー
food
ご
left
飯
over.
残
Yeah,
っ
it's
たん
curry
じゃん
too.
ちゃんと食べ
You
な
gotta
い
make
と
sure
ダ
you eat
メ
it
な
up,
の
alright?
よ。ねえねえ。
Hey, so is it
病院の
true
ご
that
飯
hostel
って
food's not very
美味し
good?
くないってでも食べ
Well,
ない
that's
と
sad,
ダ
but
メ
you still need to eat it.
起き
Oh, come on, wake up,
Oni,
big bro.
食べ
If
ず
you
に
go to
寝た
bed
ら
without eating, your
夜に
stomach's
な
gonna
って
end
お
up
腹
growling
空
in
い
the
ちゃ
middle
う
of
ん
the
だか
night.
ら
Someone's hand made its way under my back and forcibly shook my body awake. That was when I first realized that my eyes had been closed. Are you okay? Is this real? I don't know what's real anymore. When I opened my eyes, a little girl was standing there. It was Nanami, my little sister. But she was awfully little. It was Nanami from a long time ago. But how long ago, I wondered. She must have been at least in elementary school.
はい
Okay, say,
The younger Nanami scooped up some curry with a plastic spoon, then offered it to me. And I slapped the hand holding the spoon. Even after all this time, I still didn't know what had been going on through my head. In that moment, I'd knocked away the tray of curry and rice with my hand and sent it crashing to the floor.
uh,
もう鬼
big bro, there's some real bad manners, you know.
お母さ
I'm
ん
gonna tell
見つ
mom.
けてやるぞ
Nanami crouched down to the floor and picked up the tray I'd cast aside. She then received a washcloth from the sink in the corner of the room and began cleaning up the mess I'd made.
ほんと
You're a real
強い
troublemaker,
だけ
you
ど
know.
なナナがいないと
I swear, you couldn't do a thing if I wasn't around, big bro.
It's enough. I covered my face with my hands and slowly closed my eyes.
ごめんね
I'm
あな
sorry.
たを
I couldn't
守ってあ
protect
げ
you.
られなくて
I slowly opened my eyes and saw a white ceiling. It was so bright it nearly blinded me. I blinked my eyes a few times. I tried to move my fingertips. I raised my hand in front of my face. The palm of my hand created a shadow. At last I was free from the blinding glare. I've been dreaming about Nanami. Ever since I could remember, she had an especially strong will. After the bus accident back in elementary school, I'd stopped talking to anyone and everyone. But even so, that part of Nanami only became stronger and stronger. Unlike my parents, who were simply overprotective and nothing else, she'd taken care of me all the while remaining strict and firm. But that dream... Had I been hospitalized before? I'd gone in for checkups, sure, but... Well, it was just a dream, so there was no real reason to take it or take it nor the contradiction seriously. I was lying on a bed. It was a white bed with a pipe frame. The sheets were white, the pillows were white, the linoleum floor was white, the wallpaper was white. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling were white. The curtains covering the windows were white. The small shelf next to the bed was white. The ceramic water pitcher was white. The paper cups were white. I was starting to get fed up of all the white. Mustering up all my resolve, I attempted to sit up. For a split second, I felt a numbing pain jolt through the area around my waist, but it went away just as suddenly as it appeared. The room was fairly large, at least twice the size of my base. But what really bothered me was how incredibly dreary it was. Maybe it was a hospital room. There was a pair of green slippers lined up right beneath the bed. I was relieved to find a color other than white. My body was moving just fine, and it didn't seem like I was dead either. I was thirsty. I wanted a cola. An ice-cold carbonated cola. But there was no way I'd be able to find something like that in this pure white room, so I was forced to pour water directly from the pitcher into my mouth. It was a bit lukewarm, but it was enough to satisfy my thirst. Oh, it's you! Upon finishing the water, I took a breath. The door then opened, and a nurse wearing white scrubs came into the room. That was enough for me to confirm that I was in a hospital after all. Upon seeing me, her eyes grew slightly wide. She must have thought that I would still be asleep.
あら、
Ah,
西条さ
I
ん、
see you've woken
目が
up,
覚めたんです
Nishijo-san.
ね。
Facing me, she gave me a gentle smile. The mark of a true nurse. But something told me I'd seen this person before. Oh, I remembered her now. She was the grill who had been at the hospital when I'd gone to see Dr. Takashina a while back. What had she said her name was? I couldn't remember, so I stole a glance at the name tag on her chest. Hazuki was written on it. Right, Hazuki-san.
お体の調子はどう
How are
で
you
すか？
feeling? Hazuki-san held out a thermometer to me so naturally I couldn't help but take it.
体温を
Could you
測って
please
くだ
stick
さ
this
い
under
ね。
your arm for me?
With how nicely she'd asked me, I had no choice but to comply. My head was overwhelmed with question marks, but I put the thermometer inside my armpit nonetheless. Immediately after I did so, a memory burst to life inside my head. I remembered. I remember what had happened. Yeah, what happened after that? Back then, I'd given up on saving Nanami. I had grabbed onto Shogun's wheelchair. But there had been no response. It collapsed in a heap, and when I looked again, all I'd been holding was a Darth Spider's helmet. Count Darth Spider, the very embodiment of evil in Spark Wars, his black-clad appearance was famous even in Japan. But I would never have thought that Shogun would cosplay as him, so my anger had been overridden by raw confusion. After that, I had stood up and looked at the wheelchair, but there had been no one in it. Only a black hood draped over the back of it. That was another part of Darth Spider's costume. I then examined my surroundings one more time, but there had been no one there. I'd been the only one on that pitch-black rooftop. Suddenly the press came flooding in all at once. They had surrounded me with lights, cameras, and microphones. I had no room to breathe. There had been more than 10 of them in total. I got so overwhelmed by it all of my terror simply grew and grew. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't move a muscle. I'd been a total mess.
Nishijo-kun, what happened to your clairvoyance?
Does this mean that you don't know who the Mugen Cobra is after all?
The Darth Spider helmet has something to do with your psychic power.
Nishijo-san, would you please answer our questions? If you claim to have nothing more to say, you realize you'll have wasted a whole lot of time and money, right?
It was all this fool. Was it a publicity stunt to take advantage of Mugen? Don't you find that completely inappropriate?
You spoken with Yuri Brightman recently. What did you two talk about?
Do you think there's a connection between the earthquake and Mugen? Would I be right in assuming that the enemy figure you're holding in your hand is some kind of totem you're using in a ritual?
The anime of video games and any kind of influence on this video of yours? Nishijo-san!
Nishijo-san.
Nishijo-kun!
The lighting pointed at me had been incredibly hot. It felt as if my skin was being singed by the sun during the hottest part of the summer. The flood of people from the media made me feel lightheaded. My field of vision had been spinning around in circles. I'd been cornered. I'd been panicking. I'd been unable to breathe. I grasped my head. I can't see anything. I don't want to see anything. I can't hear anything. I don't want to hear anything. I can't feel anything. I don't want to feel anything. Leave me alone! At the very same moment I'd screamed, like a computer that had short-circuited, my consciousness had been severed. That was exactly what happened. I'd lost consciousness. And then, how'd I ended up here at the hospital? I couldn't remember. At the very least, I didn't think I'd come on my own, so maybe I'd been brought to the hospital by an ambulance. Hazuki-san was writing something on the clipboard she was holding. She must have had a slip of paper clipped onto it. Was she writing about my condition? I checked what time it was via the simplistic watch wrapped around her wrist. It was a little after 6 a.m. I'd slept for a really long time. Oh boy. Regardless, why had I been brought here? Okie dokie. So I did mention before that I want to try and do more delusions and stuff. Let's go with a positive delusion. If Hazuki-san was here, then that meant this was my normal hospital. It wasn't like me being brought to a general hospital was particularly weird, but something still didn't feel right. Why was Hazuki-san coming to check on me? That question really bothered me. I mean, Hazuki-san was a psychiatric nurse. If Hazuki-san was coming to check on me, didn't that mean that the room I was in was also used by psychiatric patients? I must say, you really did give me a fright. Hazuki-san's eyes widened, and she moved in to study my face closely.
I
didn't expect you to wake up, Nishijo-san.
Huh? She made it sound as if she hadn't expected me to wake up. Was she disappointed? Was she trying to say that the world would be better off if a piece of garbage like me just stayed asleep for the rest of my life? When she said that to me, I really did start to wish I'd never woken up. But then Hazuki-san gave me an explanation that was far different than what I'd imagined.
You've been in a coma for nearly a month now.
What?
The reason why this may be is still unclear to us.
What the hell? A month? When had I... What's today?
Before I tell you, I want you to take a deep breath, okay? Today is October 28th.
October 28th. That checked out, at least with what I'd remembered. Which meant that it'd been a whole month since I witnessed the crucifixion. I was at a loss for words.
Oh no, I should really go inform the doctor. This isn't exactly the time to chat as I take your temperature. Please wait here. I'll be back with the doctor right away.
After she finished rambling at me, Hazuki-san bolted out of the hospital room in a panic. An entire month. I was in a coma for an entire month. Oh god, I don't know if this was real or not. I stared down at my palms, mumbling that to myself in a daze. That meant that everything that happened in the past month had all been a dream. I couldn't believe I got slammed with the "it was all a dream" plot twist. But strangely enough, it didn't bother me. In fact, when she told me it was all a dream, it made everything surprisingly easy to understand. There was no such thing as D-swords or turning delusions into reality or whatever else. All of it fell apart the second I actually thought about it. It had all been an illusion. A simple delusion that I'd created. I was pretty sad about that meeting Rimi had just been a dream too, but I wasn't being hunted by Shogun. I wasn't Japan's favorite punchline. And Nanami hadn't been kidnapped either. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. My vision blurred, but when I looked upward to hold back the tears, Hazuki-san entered the room, and her eyes widened upon seeing me.
I see you've woken up, Nishijo-san.
A gentle smile accompanied her as she said that. My confusion rushing back, I froze. What do you mean? You just said hi.
お体の調子
How
は
are you
どうです
feeling?
か？
Hazuki-san held a thermometer to me so naturally I couldn't help but take it. Am I going crazy? What?
体温を
Could you
測
please
っ
stick
て
this
くだ
under
さ
your
い
arm for
ね。
me? I'm going crazy. I'm going insane. Did we just loop? What? What just happened? What? As I took the thermometer from her, I gulped. It's the same. The exact same thing from before was repeating. It was as if Hazuki-san had just walked into the hospital room for the first time. I nervously reached for the thermometer in my underarm. I was sure I'd put a thermometer in there just a minute ago, and yet there was nothing there. What? The thermometer had disappeared. Had it been just a delusion? When did the delusions end and reality start? Was me being hunted down by Shogun and becoming Japan's favorite punchline reality? My mood instantly took a turn for the worse.
昨日ご家
A
族
family
がお
member of
見え
yours
になっていた
came
ん
to
です
see
け
you
ど、
yesterday, but
西条さんの
as
意
he
識
didn't
が
regain
戻らない
consciousness
の
in
で
time, they left
日
around
付が変
around
わる頃
midnight.
にお帰りになり、今日は診察
Your
時
mother
間が
informed us
始
that
ま
she
る
would be
頃
arriving
に
at
お
around
母
the time
様
we
が来る
opened.
そうですよ。
I nodded in response, not having the energy to say anything back. Mom, I'm sorry for being such a disgrace. I'm an embarrassment to Japan. No, to the entire world. The entire thing had been televised, meaning it had already been spread to the entire country. I was sure my shameful behavior had been uploaded to YouTube as well. I had no idea why I'd been made into the amazing Esper boy. And it didn't make any sense to broadcast my every move, and on the day of a huge earthquake no less, when I was nothing but a boring otaku freak. It wasn't normal. Because of that, I couldn't help but think that everyone from back then was being mind-controlled by Shogun. But regardless of whether or not that was true, I still publicly humiliated myself. It wasn't something I'd escape after enduring a quick shitstorm online that'd be forgotten about in a week. Was this it for me? Would I no longer be able to live in peace? Suddenly, Nanami's face appeared in the back of my mind. I bit down on my lip and hugged my knees. Even if that was no longer attainable, as long as I could save Nanami, none of it would matter. Even if people from all over the world snickered at me and called me a pathetic loser for the rest of my life, it would make no difference to me. But I couldn't save her. I couldn't even do that much.
Nana.
Tears began to fall from my eyes.
どうし
What's
まし
wrong?
た？
Are you in
どこか
pain?
痛みます？
Shaking my head over and over, I kept on crying. Nanami was dead. Nanami was dead, and she was never coming back. It was all my fault. All my fault, all my fault, all my fault. Because of how worthless I was. Because of how much of a fucking loser I was. Nanami was dead. Back on the rooftop, I'd given up so easily on obtaining the D-sword. I had Seraton's seductive voice in my ear, but that was just my pathetic self pretending to be someone else. I was the one who made the decision. I made myself look like a pitiful victim. I'd chosen to sacrifice Nanami so that I would survive. I hated myself. How fucking pathetic I was. If only I'd tried just a little bit harder. I told myself that I'd given up of my own volition, but now that it was all over, I regretted every single thing I'd done on that rooftop. I was absolutely disgusted with myself. She was gone. Nothing could save her now. And yet, even still, I couldn't help but think that if I could just go back to that rooftop, and I just tried a little bit harder. But I knew that even if I actually could go back, I'd just give up all over again, find some other excuse to get me out of it. That was just who I was. A completely useless, irredeemable piece of shit.
Nanami.
Nami,
ごめん。
I'm so sorry.
ナナミ。
Nami. Suzuki-san rubbed my back in an attempt to comfort me. I was a useless sack of shit to the very end. I was even causing problems for nurses that had nothing to do with me. The tears refused to stop.
何か
There's something
後
you
悔
regret,
してい
isn't
るこ
there?
とがあるんですね。でもきっと
Well, whatever it is,
妹さん
I'm sure
も
your
許して
sister
く
will
れます
forgive
よ。
you.
Huh? How does she know that Nanami was my sister? Even that aside, the formulaic constellation she was giving me was the last thing I needed right now. I'm sorry, Uzuki-san, but no one else can understand how I feel. I hated myself. I was pathetic. Did nothing but take advantage of everyone else, and only ever thought about myself. Maybe the world would be better off without me. Maybe I should just end it all.
昨日もしき
She
り
was very
に
worried
西条
about
さんの
you
こと
when
を
she
心
came in
配してい
yesterday,
ましたよ。
Nishijo-san.
I had a feeling.
とても可愛らし
You have a
い
cute little
妹
sister,
さん
don't
で
you
す
agree?
ね。
What is she talking about?
ナナミは
Nami, my little sister is dead. She'd been kidnapped by Shogun. Her hand had been cut off. Then she'd been imprisoned somewhere. In the end, she died all alone and afraid. When I imagined it, it felt like my heart was being torn into dozens of tiny pieces.
そうなんで
Oh
す
my
か。
goodness. Is she really?
ごめんなさい。
Forgive me,
勘違い
I'm
してし
afraid
まっ
I've made a
て。
terrible mistake.
All my life, I thought that Nanami was annoying. Although we had been siblings for 16 years. Even though she called me a jerk more times than I could count, she was always worried about me. The reason why she always nagged me so much was because she was trying to help me break free of my toxic lifestyle. Whenever she brought me food from our parents' house, she didn't just give it to me and leave. She always tried to share it with me. Normally, if a girl her age had an otaku freak for a brother, they'd never associate with him. And while the things she said didn't make her the easiest person to be around, she'd still talk to me. And she would listen, too. Whenever I'd been at school, she never avoided me. No, she would actually approach me. No matter what, Nanami had always treated me, a final otaku freak version, like her brother. Like a human being. Her mere existence had helped me more than I ever knew. But realizing that did me no good now. It was too late.
But
だと
if
したら
that truly is the
鬼
case,
って
then
どういう
what does she
意味
mean
な
by
のか
big
しら。
bro?
Huh? Huh? I looked up, unable to properly comprehend what I just heard. As my eyes were blurry with tears, I couldn't see Hazuki-san's face properly. What did she just say?
眠ってる
She
西
called
条
out
さ
to you
ん
again
を
and again as you slept.
Oni,
Big bro,
Oni
big bro.
と何度
I
も
would
呼ん
have
でい
never
たから
thought she'd be
その
anything
印象
other
が
than your
強くて
sibling.
There was only one person who called me that. Are you telling the truth?
本当ですか
Faulting out of my bed, I pressed Suzuki-san for an answer.
は、はい
I'm sorry.
何がで
The
す
truth about what?
Nanami, my sister Nanami, where was she? Was she here?
来てたんですか
いえ、その、
Well,
はっき
I
りお
didn't
名
hear her
前
name
を聞い
properly,
たわけ
so
では。
I...
僕
You said she
僕
called me
のこと
Big Bro,
鬼って
right?
呼んでたん
ええ。
Yes.
Where's she now? Where's
今
Nanami?
どこに
です
She
か
went
ら、
home
昨
yesterday.
日はお帰り、西条さ
She
んの
left to go with your mother.
お母様と。
怪我とか
Injuries.
してません
Did
で
she
した
have any
か
injuries?
はい。
Huh? No,
Yeah,
nothing I could see.
特には。
元気だったって言って
She's okay.
ナ
Nanami was okay.
はい。
Yes.
あ、
Although I
い
should
え
clarify, I'm not sure
ナナミさん
whether
か
or
ど
not
う
it was
かはわかり
Nami-san,
ま
but
せん
the
け
girl
ど、
who visited yesterday was
昨
doing
日いら
just
してい
fine,
た
yes.
女の子は元気そうでした
Nami was
よ。
alive. For everything Hazuki-san said, it had to be true. I sat down on the bed, utterly dazed. But how? Shogun had said that he wouldn't give Nanami back to me until I completed his quest. Had he just released her out of pity? Or had Nanami escaped on her own? But then, how would that explain the hand he'd sent to me? According to Suzuki-san, Nanami hadn't even been injured. Did you ever consider that the hand I sent to your place was someone else's? What he said, it hadn't been a lie. He played me. I've been dancing right to his tune. Shogun had deceived me. No, that didn't matter right now. I see. I see. So that was it. It was all coming together. Nanami had never been kidnapped at all. Back when I'd been at Front, desperately trying to grab the D-sword, Nanami must have been relaxing back at home reading manga or going out to karaoke with her friends so she could show off her shitty singing voice or doing whatever she liked to do. I was crying, but I couldn't help but laugh. Nishija-san? You got me. Shogun, you got me through and through. Unbelievably epic thing. She was alive. Nanami was alive. I can see that bratty ass face of hers again. Hear that obnoxious shrill voice of hers again. The mere thought was enough to bring me a deep sense of relief and an intense joy that rose from the bottom of my heart. Oh, thank God. I couldn't stop crying. But the tears weren't the tears of regret I'd been crying earlier. Thank God. I was an utterly useless pile of shit. But I couldn't help it. The day before, I'd given up without being able to do anything. Even so, as long as Nanami was alive, I didn't wish for anything else. The whole world could mock me until the end of time for all I cared. I was overjoyed. Thank God she was safe. Yeah, another meeting has been called. Jesus Christ. You never know how much something is important to you until you think you've lost it forever. I'm gonna do something weird. I didn't actually do this before, but I should have. I'm gonna regret this choice, but I'm gonna delete this save. We're locking that one. And we're gonna go back. There's something I said that I'd do later, but never actually got to. Let's go get that bad ending from Chapter 6. I saw a sword. Nope. Kill me! I did see something that looks like a sword. If I move from here, I can take it. Yes. Wait, what? You disappoint me. There we go. I felt a strong push on my back. Before I could even notice, someone had moved up right behind me. I hadn't felt any presence. It couldn't have been Shogun. I hadn't heard the creaking sound of a wheelchair. Then, who? The nightscape of Shibuya Station spun around and around. I felt the earth. I felt the wind rushing over me. The ground was closing in. I hear screams, or rather cheers, all around me. Is this it? Is this how it ends? Is this how I die? God, no. Not like this, not like this, not like this, not like this, not like... Well... Nice! It didn't add any endings. Well, but I'm glad I went back and did that, because that was fast. I mean, I'm gonna be real to you, that didn't feel important enough to have to justify going all the way back, but at the same time, I'm glad I did it anyways. I kind of figured that was what happened, so that's why I was like, I can probably just wait and see this later. It's probably just not gonna be that important, and sure enough, I was right. It was just kind of exactly what I expected. You just straight up die. Yeah, another meeting had been called in the main conference room of the Shibuya Police Department, joining one of the multiple others that had been held today. The exhausted, fed-up detectives all wondered how many more hours worth of unproductive meetings they would be forced to sit through. Now I'm confused about what's... Wait... Oh god, do I really want to do the thought I have in my head? Because if I do the thought I have in my head, we might make things very confusing in a second here. You know what? I've already been confused enough in this series. Let's confuse me even more. We're going back here and we're going to do the other delusion, and then we're going to see what happens if we do no delusion. Screw it. Just screw it. We're doing this. Let's make it as confusing as possible, shall we?
警察の人が
I've been
後
informed
でお
that the
話
police
を
would
聞
like
き
to
たい
speak
そう
with
で
you.
すよ。
Huh? Hazuki's gentle tone turned cold. Without looking at me, she continued writing something on a piece of paper attached to a clipboard.
妹さんを
You would
殺
have
すなん
to
て
be a really horrible person to
Hidoy
kill your own
人ですね。
sister.
What had she just said?
あなたの家で
They
見つか
found
っ
her in
た
your
そうですよ。死体。
Her corpse.
What?
妹さんの手
You
首
cut
を
off
切
your
り
sister's
落と
hand and
して持
carried
ち
it
歩
around
いてい
with
た
you.
なんて。ま
That's
とも
not
じゃない
normal.
わ。
I didn't kill anyone.
殺してない。
そう主張している
So you
らしい
claim.
ですね。
Detective's been
意
complaining
味
about how
不明
useless
な
it
こ
is
と
to
ばか
converse
り
with
言って
you.
て
You
話
say
になら
nothing
な
but
いって
incomprehensible
刑事さん
nonsense.
がぼやいてました。心神喪
Are you
失で無罪
intending
っ
to plead not guilty
て
by
いう
reason
の
of
を狙って
insanity?
るんですか？でもみん
Even
な
if
思
you
って
do, it
ま
won't
すよ。
help. Everyone knows.
あなたが
You killed her.
殺したんだ。
Chest squeezed tightly, and I began to hallucinate that everything from before my eyes had gone completely black. I was starting to doubt myself. Had I killed Nanami? No, that couldn't be true.
こ
You
人殺し。
murder.
She'd been writing something, but suddenly Hazuki's hands stopped. She then slowly turned the clipboard to me. Whose eyes are those eyes? Suddenly I realized I was sitting in the same bed, in the same hospital room. Wasn't sure why the sheet I'd just ripped off of me was still on me. Hazuki-san had been standing right beside the bed, had disappeared before I could even blink. Wiping the greasy sweat off my forehead, I looked around the hospital room once again. After a couple knocks, Hazuki-san entered the room, and her eyes widened slightly upon seeing me.
あら、
Ah,
西条
I
さ
see
ん。
you've woken up,
目
Miss
が覚めたん
Shijo-san.
ですね。
A gentle smile accompanied her as she said that. I stiffened up, then looked away.
お体の調子
How
は
are you
どうですか？
Hazuki-san handed out a thermometer to me so naturally I couldn't help but take it.
体温を
Could you please
測
stick
って
this
く
on
だ
your
さい
arm for
ね。
me?
I gulped. It's the same. Okay. So that's what it seemed like that time. We also got a insanity. Loses the ability to distinguish between right and wrong due to some form of mental disorder. According to paragraph 1 of Article 39 of the Japanese Penal Code, an act of insanity is not punishable, resulting in cases in which criminals are acquitted without being held legally responsible for their actions. Mind control, silent weapons, dopamine. Yeah. Alright. Now let's go back and check out what it looks like if you choose no delusion. Maybe all the normal beds were full because of all the people who'd been injured in yesterday's earthquake, and they just happened to put me in one of the beds from the psychiatric ward because of that. Or maybe they decided that me collapsing was due to psychological factors rather than physical ones. Well, I suppose they wouldn't be wrong then. My mood was gradually getting worse and worse.
昨日ご家族がお見えになっていた
Family
西
members
条
of
さん
yours
の意
came
識が
to
戻
see
ら
you
ないの
yesterday,
で
but
日
as
付
you
が
didn't
変
regain
わる頃に
consciousness,
お
they...
帰りに今日は診察時間が始まる頃にお母様が来るそう。
Okay, this seems to be the same. Alright. Let's go back to the normal path. An meeting had been called in the main conference room of the Shibuya Police Department, joining one of the multiple others that had been held today. The exhausted, fed-up detectives all wondered how many more hours worth of unproductive meetings they would be forced to sit through. Matsunaga was about to start hearing the reports from each investigator when suddenly, Ban hesitantly stood up and raised his hand.
Mind if I say something?
なんだね。
What is it? Inquisitive eyes and expressions landed on Ban not just from Matsunaga, but from Suwa and the detective sitting next to him as well. Ban smiled his usual flippant smile, quickly bowed his head, and then looked around the room.
We made a small discovery in the group dive video that was posted to the internet the other day.
Huh? The surprise on Suwa's face was evident. In all likelihood, he was surprised. After all, Ban had examined the video without saying a word to him. It was not because he had wanted to keep it a secret from him, however, no.
バン警部補。
This is Inspector Van. You are in charge of the crucifixion case.
担当だった。なぜ集
Why
団
are
ダイ
you
ブについ
investigating
て
the
調べ
group
ている
dive?
This was the reason. You're supposed to be looking at an entirely different case, you idiot. Ban had disregarded the orders he had been given by his boss, the head of the investigation team. If Ben had involved Sua, a promising new detective, his partner would have inevitably been harshly rebuked by their boss. Ben wanted to avoid this.
How about that? If you wouldn't mind, could I have you take a look at this?
With a chuckle, Ben took out 2 enlarged photos from a file he held in his hand and attached them to the blackboard with magnets.
These are both photos taken from the Cornelius Tower rooftop, the location where the group dive took place.
What? Wait! Hey, game. Quick question. Where the hell did the building go? The building's gone! And it's here! What? Huh? Why is there no building? This is definitely the... Look at the bottom right of the photo. You see that same, like, the same, like, lights. If you look at the bottom right, it's easy to tell, but this is taken from the same angle. This is the same place taken a photo of. But the building's gone. Why?
The photo on the right was taken from the video posted on YouTube. The photo on the left is one I took last night when I went to the tower rooftop.
What? But that's impossible.
Do you notice anything different between the two?
Yeah, the giant building's gone. The entire conference room began to stir.
There's something different in the backdrop. The camera on the uploaded footage is pointing northeast. The 5 men and women did fall northeast, so that's not the issue. Regardless, at 3 minutes and 29 seconds into the video, for about 15 seconds, the camera swings left and right in multiple very large motions. The picture on the right is the one taken when the camera was facing to the east. Here we can see East Cornelius Tower, which faces toward Roppongi. Tokyo Tower is clearly visible in the nightscape. The red makes it stand out pretty well. But you see, there's one more thing that stands out. This time it's something that's not in the picture.
Ben's eyes narrowed as he combed his beard with his fingers, and then a wry smile appeared on his lips. How did an entire building not disappear or appear?
It's Roppongi Bills.
It's true. The lights of Roppongi Bills could not be seen in the photo he had taken from the uploaded video. When the photo of Ben had taken the day prior, the lights of Roppongi Bills' many windows were very clearly visible along the Tokyo Tower. It's not just that the lights are all off on the building. No, you can see the lights behind. Like, you can see the lights of buildings that are behind that tower. Meaning that tower's not just like all lights off and it's just pitch black. No, because if that was the case, you wouldn't be able to see these lights that are directly behind it, but you can see them. That tower's just gone.
I happened to come across a few panels in the lobby of Cornelius Tower. Ones that were displaying a couple of photos from back when the tower was first completed. This is one of those panels.
Wait, what? Wait. I happened to come across a few panels in the lobby of Cornelius Tower, ones that were displaying a couple of photos from back when the tower was first completed. This is one of those panels. Wait a minute. You're saying that, are you saying one of these photos was taken in the past when this building was first made? Wait. Ben retrieved a new photo from the file and pinned it next to the previous two. It was also a picture of the Roppongi area that was taken from the rooftop of the tower. It was not a picture taken at night. It was one taken at day.
You can see Roppongi Bills right there. It's under construction, but my point still stands.
The commotion in the conference room grew even louder. Matsunaga, meanwhile, remained silent as he stared at the photo with a stern expression.
Cornelius Tower was completed in 2001. Roppongi Bills was completed in 2003. The photo taken back when the tower was completed, Roppongi Bills was still under construction, and as such, it wasn't quite as tall yet. However, the year when the group dive happened was 2008.
What?
It would make a whole lot of sense if it weren't there, don't you think? Roppongi Bills, that is. Oh, and another thing, there were no signs of the footage being tampered with in any way. Where are you going with all this?
Having seemingly lost patience with the detective, Matsunaga urged him onward discontentedly.
It's hard to say, but I do have one theory. Wait, sir, are you saying that the video was taken before 2003? That means it was taken more than 5 years ago.
Yep, that's the thing. When did these murders occur? But that's... That would mean the group dive would have taken place 5 years ago in the past. But how? That's impossible. There was fresh blood and everything. Dang it, Sua. Ban's shoulders just slumped dejectedly. The young detective's keen insight was brilliant. Sua had said exactly what Ban had intended to say. However, having said it out aloud and in such a straightforward manner only made the claim appear all the more dubious. Ban's careful planning on how to articulate his points had all been for nothing.
That's idiotic. Somebody's afraid someone's been reading too many detective stories. The faces of the 5 victims in the video were identical. There's no way the video was taken 5 years ago. If you've got the time to scout for such trivial clues, then why don't you go do a couple of witness interviews, Assistant Inspector? I'll just pretend I didn't hear that. On that note, I've got something to talk to you about, so meet me after the meeting.
After letting out a short sigh, Ban gave up and sat back down. Well, it's not like I expected him to believe me. Bitter and unwilling to accept defeat, Ban muttered that aside inside his head before returning to listlessly fanning his face with his handheld fan. And yet, despite all the work he had done, if one were to ask what the absence of the Roppongi bills in the video signify, Ban would be unable to answer. What's going on? After I found out that Nanami was alive, the doctor came to me and asked me a few simple questions. They wanted to make sure whether or not I was well enough to leave. I answered the questions to the best of my abilities and opted to leave the hospital before my mom came back. After that disgraceful behavior I'd showed off in front of the entire country, how was I supposed to face my family now? And if Nanami were to come back, I knew that I'd be so happy I'd immediately burst into tears all over again. And then since she wouldn't know why I was crying, Nanami would then take it seriously and start yelling at me not to worry about her, probably while calling me an idiot too. When I thought about that, I nearly fainted from sheer embarrassment. And so instead of letting that happen, I decided to employ a strategic retreat. A nurse brought in the most disgusting breakfast of all time, and after chipping away at it slightly, I snuck out of the hospital room. I made my way down to the first floor and then into the lobby. The clinic hadn't opened yet, so the lobby that was usually packed with old people was completely deserted. I confidently walked toward the front entrance. Luckily for me, the automatic door opened, giving me a free rein to exit the building. The hospital staff might have gotten angry with me for leaving without asking them first, but I had to stay away from the hospital until everything calmed down. As for the medical fees, I left my mom a note telling her to go ahead and pay for it, so it should be fine. Despite the fact that I'd stayed overnight at the hospital, I wasn't exhibiting any actual symptoms, and my mental state was doing much better after I learned that Nanami was alive. Making sure to keep an eye out for any ambushes by Shogun or Yua, I quickly made my way back to my base.
Oh, we're back.
Phew. I made it back. My mental state had done a complete 180 since I'd last been at my base. You think? Of course, I was feeling a lot better now. If only I could have let my past self know that. You let yourself get baited far too often, mate. I rate 8 out of 8. Lel mine. And there's no reason for you to get so riled up, dude. Nanami's fine, lol. He times 100. Or something along those lines. Thinking back on it, yesterday it really had been a living hell. Everything had just gone to shit. I got a really weird phone call in the morning, then there'd been an earthquake. Then the data on my hard drive had disappeared, and then I had to witness Hayase try to off herself right in front of me. Then I got an email from Shogun, then he sent me the severed hand. The severed goddamned hand. My mood plummeted in an instant. Yeah, shouldn't that still be here? With a gulp, I turned my attention to the fridge. Please don't tell me you put that in the damn fridge. That's where the hand is. Before I left yesterday, I decided in my maniacal state to just put the hand in the fridge for the time being. If I left it out somewhere, it could have started rotting. The smell of blood was also way too strong for me. There were all sorts of sci-fi anime and movies where, as long as they remained frozen, people could stay in a state of suspended animation for hundreds of years. So that's pretty much what I was going for. I thought that if I could keep Nanami's arm fresh, she might have been able to get it surgically reconnected once she was back home safe. I don't think that's how that works. If that wasn't Nanami's hand, then who the hell did it belong to? And how would that explain the cell phone in the bangle? If I wasn't missing something, then it had to belong to Nanami. When I called her, it had rung on the cell phone held in the hand. Or maybe it had just been all part of Shogun's trap. Was it even possible to make such a perfect replica of Nanami's arm? I'll just look one more time, just to make sure. In truth, I really didn't want to. The entire thing had grossed me out. Just thinking about it made me want to puke, even if it did belong to Nanami. But that didn't mean I could just keep it in my fridge forever. Not even my supply of cola stayed that cold in it. I considered asking the police to come take it, but then I realized that they'd just suspect me of being the new gen culprit, even more than they already did, that is. It would practically be suicide to dial 110 and go, "Hello, yes, please come and take this person's severed hand off my hands, thank you." What should I do? Should I just throw it away? But supposing it was Nanami's arm, it didn't really sound like a good idea to just throw it away. Hell, were you even allowed to throw away human hands like that? Did they constitute as burnable or non-burnable trash? I tore up my hair. There was no point continuing to torture myself over it. I just go ahead and check one more time that the bangle was on her wrist and that she was holding her cell phone. Was it Nanami's, or was it someone else's? That was the question I hoped to answer. It's not going to be there, is it? I stood in front of the refrigerator and gripped the handle. I closed my eyes and then I took one, then two, then three deep breaths. Unsurprisingly, the temptation to just call Rimi and ask her to do it for me crept up into my mind, but I quickly shook it away. No matter how good of an ally Rimi was to me, there was no way she wouldn't freak out upon finding someone's hand in my fridge. And then if I managed to fuck up the explanation, she'd fall out of love with me and then turn me to the police. I was gonna have to do this on my own somehow. Fuck. I clenched my teeth, took 2 more deep breaths, and then I yanked on the handle with all my might. What? I thought so. There was no hand. Was it all delusion? It was empty. Entirely empty. I thought for sure that I'd put the hand in there. It had been wrapped in aluminum foil. Just some oranges and some cola. It should have been on the top shelf. And yet, there was no sign of it. All that was there were a few bottles of cola and a bunch of rotten clementines. Nothing else. It's gone. How? Just like that, it was completely gone. I crouched down and looked farther into the refrigerator, but of course it still wasn't there. There wasn't much in there to begin with, so it was already practically empty. There's no way I could have missed it. I put it in here yesterday, didn't I? Or maybe I just assumed that, and in reality I just left it somewhere. I closed the fridge door, then looked around my trash-filled room. The cardboard box is gone too. The large cardboard box with the hand inside of it. So 2 things either happened, I think. One, it really was just a delusion, and now that the delusion's seemingly gone, been broken, and all this stuff has just reverted to what it should be, which is no hand existing. The other possibility, the one that I really hope is not right, but I also think is more than likely not right, is that someone came and took it. What had I done with it? I felt like I tossed it into the corner of my room or something, but either way, my memory of last night was very unclear. More things had happened yesterday than my poor brain could handle, and everything was made all the more brutal due to the utter chaos of it all. Calm down, just calm down. Now get your thoughts together. Think of why it might have disappeared. I booted up the word processor on my PC and wrote down all the possibilities I could think of. My mistake, I'd put somewhere else in my room. I myself took it outside yesterday and threw it away somewhere. Shogun took it back. The police searched my house and confiscated it. The mass media broke in and stole it, or the hand never existed in the first place. My base had been unlocked ever since yesterday, so if someone really wanted to, they could have come right in and taken it without much trouble. That would also be consistent with how Shogun had been able to put that hand in my room in the first place. Or maybe it was number 2. My memory of when I'd left my base to go to O-Front was unclear. The feeling that I had to save Nanami, seeing the severed hand, how terrified I was of Shogun, all those emotions swirled around me, invading each and every corner of my mind. I couldn't calm down at all. Maybe I just left my base and tossed the hand in a dumpster somewhere without knowing it. Or maybe the whole hand thing in general had just been a delusion and it didn't actually exist at all. But when I went to check my email, I found out that one I'd gotten from Shogun yesterday did in fact exist, and in that email he clearly stated that the hand was a present. How? What? Not to mention that Shogun himself had talked about it yesterday. I just couldn't believe that it had just been a delusion. Okay, then what about the possibility that the police or the media took it? Those people looked at Otaku Freaks like they were no better than shit smeared on the bottom of their shoes, so it wouldn't surprise me. After everything that happened yesterday, I was afraid to look at the internet. Yet in the end, I couldn't help myself, so I clicked open my browser. Deluded. First, I checked the news section of Taboo, as well as the news sites I would typically go to. Is there going to be nothing about the boy Esper or whatever? Is the radio wave hijacking Esper just a boy who cried wolf? The ESP show, held by the new generation boy, ended in the worst possible way. Oh, was it real? There are articles upon articles about the uproar yesterday at the Scramble Crossing. Okay, I can read this. I was confused for a second. Is the radio wave hijacking Esper just a boy who cried wolf? The ESP show held by the new generation boy ended in the worst way possible. In response to the seismic intensity 5 earthquake that struck at noon on October 27th, several news stations, including MHK, BTS, and TV Sunset, broadcasting breaking news reports. Today, ATV and Fuji Sun TV, meanwhile, began broadcasting simultaneous coverage of both the earthquake and the Esper show starting at 9 p.m. Following this, the two stations were immediately flooded with call after call protesting this decision. When faced with the disappointing end to the show, the nearly 5,000 fans that had crowded in front of Shibuya Station all began to boo loudly for over an hour, with some fans even fighting among themselves. The situation resulted in 13 separate arrests. The commotion began with a prank email sent by a boy, hereby referred to as N, living in Shibuya Ward. At first, news stations were skeptical of the email, which claimed that the boy was a clairvoyant Esper who could see the culprit behind the new generation madness. The popular name for a series of brutal incidents taking place in Shibuya. However, when American psychic detective Yuri Brightman, age 43, informed Today TV and Fuji Sun TV that he would be willing to become the boy's legal guardian, both stations immediately took him at his word, or so the story goes. The ratings for both Today TV and Fuji Sun TV were extraordinary, with the highest simultaneous viewership exceeding 40%. These are astonishing figures, surpassing even that of Kohaku ringing in the new year. Although these figures may only be for the simultaneous broadcast with the earthquake reports, the broadcast was obviously a huge success in terms of viewership. However, the boy starring in the show, N, did not turn out to be an Esper. He repeatedly riled up the audience by motioning like he was going to jump off the building, but his performance did not extend beyond that. Undeterred, the media companies dared to go up on the rooftop to report on the situation and attempt to get a comment about the new gen incidents, but they were unsuccessful. The boy was found collapsed on the rooftop, holding a moe anime figure and a costume from a popular Hollywood film. According to otaku culture expert Professor Hashiba Yoshiro of Meisei University, there has been a rapid increase in the number of young people who dream of becoming heroes, but in the pursuit of this dream, act with no regard to the world around them. Under the influence of anime, video games, and other similarly damaging media, they've lost the ability to distinguish between fantasy and reality. This is likely what is causing them to act in such a way. They require psychological care. I hadn't sent any emails to the media. I'd never seen Yuri Brightman's show, let alone met him. So what the hell? Was this all just part of Shogun's plan like I'd originally thought? What was his ultimate goal here? He said something about being a quest or something. Okay, then what was the point of having the mass media televise me trying to get my hands on a sword? I didn't get it. What was Shogun trying to accomplish? He even released a Nanami alive. I followed the links to various articles, but even after reading through all of them, not a single one of them mentioned Shogun. There had been practically no gap at all between when I tackled Shogun and when the media had come bursting onto the rooftop. Even if Shogun had managed to escape during that window, the media would have seen him. And not only that, but Shogun was supposed to be stuck in a wheelchair. He was supposed to be paralyzed, so there was absolutely no way he would have been able to escape the rooftop in such a limited time frame. I went to check on that channel, and to no one's surprise, an enormous shitstorm was going on. My real name was being plastered everywhere. Oh boy. The uniform that Nishijo dumbass was rocking is from Suime, isn't it? Are there any Suime students in this thread right now? The guy's a terminal fucktard. Do us all a favor and off yourself, you piece of human trash, Lamau. Nishijo, you need chill, gals, fuck's sake. It'll be your fault if Otaku start getting beat up again. Tell him carrying a figure, lol. It was a goddamn Sarah Blood Tomb figure. Lamau, what the fuck? And just like that, Otaku freaks around the world all just shed a tear. This Nishijo fucker should just stay inside like the shun he is. TV's not for him, lol. Sarah would be like, Nishijo, you big dum-dum, time for me to kick your fat butt with my awakened form rocket body blow attack. Some rando who was a classmate of his last year already came out and doxed the guy. I can't do this. Everyone was just saying whatever the hell they wanted. They weren't even considering how I felt as they talked all this shit about me. Having At-chan as your enemy was a scary thing. And it was all Shogun's fault I was in this mess. I was wondering if anybody had leaked any sensitive information onto At-channel. Stuff that couldn't be aired on TV, but I couldn't find anything that fit that criteria. I hadn't been alone on that rooftop. There had been one more person, and yet not a single shred of information had come out about them. It was almost like the being known as Shogun had never been there in the first place. Maybe the Shogun that appeared on the rooftop was just an illusion. Maybe, even if I know for a fact that he exists, there's a possibility that the Shogun I saw at Outfront was just a delusion I created. I think I'm losing my mind. There's so many things happening that shouldn't have been possible in real life. It's more like a video game at this point. Like there were two worlds, one where Nanami was alive and one where she was dead. And the two options were running parallel to one another, meaning I got to choose between them. Just like a choice you'd find in a eroge. The future was divided into countless different branches. And what made me different from normal people was that I could simulate what story events might occur using my delusions. And I was in the middle of simulating the route that would lead to the bad ending. Like one where Nanami died, or one where Ayase jumped to her death, or one where I fell off Outfront and died. In other words, for some reason, all these things that you normally find in the bad ending route could be coming after me. Almost like they were hunting me down due to a trap I'd set myself in. Maybe I just had the desire to leave behind my boring, uneventful life and go to a more exciting world, like one from a video game. And because of that, I'd been unconsciously showing myself what the world would look like. What that would look like. That couldn't be it. I didn't have any desires, even remotely like that. Or at the very least, I would never want to make myself go through anything that'd make me feel sad or scared, simulation or not. Besides, the power of imagination can only take you so far. What I'd been considering was nothing more than some childish bullshit delusion I'd come up with without thinking. I sighed, leaned back in my chair, and looked up at the ceiling with a blank stare on my face. Reality isn't set in stone. Anything and everything was just felt fake. The world I was living in was completely hollow. New Gen's 6th case confirmed. Woman in her 20s found dead in Shibuya River of Shibuya Ward on October 28th. The woman died of asphyxiation after consuming the flesh of her own right hand and choking on a bone that lodged itself in her throat. What? At around 8 p.m. this evening, the body of a woman was found dead in the Shibuya River of Shibuya Ward. The victim, 27-year-old Tokachi Ayami-san of the Edogawa Ward, is believed to have died of choking-induced asphyxiation. According to the investigation, the flesh of the victim's right hand had been scraped off, exposing the bone, and what appeared to be human flesh was found in the victim's stomach. The victim is believed to have chewed apart in her own right hand as well. As this, her ankles were bound together by string. The police are currently investigating this incident as both a suicide and a homicide. I'm sorry. Finger food. Good job. Ever since the seismic intensity 5 earthquake, the city of Shibuya had been overwrought with an air of pure bloodlust. The sense of order in the city had been visibly deteriorating. This decrease in security was not just regarding fights among young people, but the increasing number of store windows being broken, as well as a large surge in theft. The media continued to use the term new generation in order to establish a feeling of crisis and entrapment. In response to such fear-mongering, a handful of stores had abruptly ceased operations. Ever since that earthquake happened, things have begun escalating to a severe degree in terms of chaos. Nothing makes sense anymore. It feels like everything's falling apart in Shibuya. But why? In addition, a group calling themselves the Anti-New-Gen had suddenly transformed into a riotous mob during one of their weekly demonstrations, charging the Shibuya police station and resulting in the arrest of over 100 people. Much like the Esper Boy riot, thousands upon thousands of curious onlookers gathered in the area in order to enjoy yet another shitstorm. There was a striking difference in excitement between those who were visiting the city and those who lived in it. The former expected Shibuya to be more brutally eventful than ever, while the latter condemned the lawlessness of their home and insisted on strengthening police authority. Then, as if to mock all of the uproar, the sixth New-Gen incident occurred, and of course the perpetrator had yet to be apprehended. What is going on? It had been a week since the earthquake, and in that period of time I had been suspended from school. Even if I hadn't been suspended, I wouldn't have been in the proper mental state to go to school anyway. The day immediately following the earthquake, another New-Gen incident had occurred. That incident, just like the murder of Dr. Takashina, was obviously supposed to send a message to me. It was a woman who'd been off her own right hand. There was no doubt in my mind that I was supposed to allude to Nanami's severed right hand. Nanami was clear bait from Shogun to lure me out, but even though I knew that, the thought that Nanami could have been the one killed sent shivers down my spine. And since I had become famous in Shibuya in the worst sense of the word, I was now more terrified of going out than ever. If I had a hole to crawl into, I would have done it with no hesitation. Even going to the convenience store to buy food for myself killed me, and there had been entire days I went without eating. It was impossible for me to walk outside with my head not glued to the ground. It always felt like someone was laughing at me. The gazes of other people terrified me. I didn't want to talk to anyone, to see anyone. People from the mass media had been trying to bother me constantly, but I just ignored every single one of them. I hadn't called my parents, nor had I talked to Nanami. I hadn't been playing ESO either. If it somehow got that I was Nightheart, I would be absolutely fucked. It had been 1 week now. Was that enough time for everything to cool down? People always say, oh, they'll forget about it in a month, but hopefully it doesn't actually take that long. And I mean, trends did go by extremely quickly these days. The slang people used would become obsolete by the next year. Even net slang and memes that people used online died out in just a couple months. Television sought out heroes, idols, villains, or whatever else that would excite the public, and as soon as it found them, it consumed them for all they were worth and promptly discarded them. Even the New-Gen cases, which had been going on for 6 cases now, were quieting down. No one even talked about the first case on that channel anymore. Everything faded from people's memories in the blink of an eye. Which is why I was hoping that in the past week, everything that had happened to me had already faded from the public consciousness, just like some passing trend. Even if it was just wishful thinking, I couldn't help but hope that it might be true. My head and stomach started to pang. I sat down on my usual bench to calm myself down. Seraton would know what to say right now.
It's causing so much pain. You should stop going to school, don't you think?
I was at the point where I was starting to consider it. I mean, due to the worsening security, more and more people have been opting out of school in Shibuya wards, so it wouldn't just be me. I'd always thought that it made no difference whether or not I graduated. So much so that I'd be willing to drop out of school right now. But despite that, I planned to continue going, even if it meant risking running into Yua. I gulped down a coal I'd bought at a vending machine on the way to the park, then stood up from the bench. I should just stop kidding myself. I didn't want to go to school, but I didn't want to quit either. Because if I quit school, I wouldn't be able to see Rimi anymore. We were classmates, so as long as I kept going to school, I'd be able to see her without going out of my way to do so. But if I lost that, I could always just call her and go meet with her directly. But like I said, that would mean I'd have to go out of my way to contact her. And I knew for a fact I couldn't do that. In fact, I already had and been able to bring myself to see her for a while now.
私が
I'll
一
stay by
緒
your
にいてあ
side.
げる
That was what Remy had promised me. And I hadn't heard from her for over 10 days now. Not a single word. I thought that Remy, my one and only ally, might have fallen out of love with me after seeing my disgusting behavior on TV. It destroyed me. I was terrified. I felt like crying. I never felt so alone. No one, not even Nanami, had come to see me. I was being subjected to thread after thread of endless slander on the internet. I was scared shitless by even the idea of Shogun and Yua. And while I'd said before that I didn't want to see anyone, the loneliness was eating away at me. I wanted Remy to come and see me. I wanted her to hug me gently and tell me it would all be okay. It must have been so hard, but I'm here now, she would say. In the end, Remy had spoiled me rotten. But she wasn't in the wrong for doing so. Remy had taught me the warmth that 3D could have. And now that I knew what that warmth felt like, I had never stopped wishing for it ever since. I couldn't get that kind of peace from 2D or delusions anymore. I couldn't survive on just my delusions. I wanted to see her. When I passed through the school gate, I hadn't noticed any particular change in the atmosphere. That's to say, no one had noticed me. I entered the building and started up the stairs. A girl I didn't recognize went to pass me, but just before she did, she let out an audible ah and looked at me with pity in her eyes. I walked into the hallway where my classroom was located. Several windows were broken, and I could feel people's gazes mercilessly burning through me as they whispered. In that moment, I was hit with a very bad feeling. My wishful thinking was already on the verge of shattering to pieces. But even so, I opened the door to my classroom, fueled by my one desire, to see Remy. The silence lasted for about 10 seconds. Everyone was frozen. They all stared at me. I kept my head down as I walked through the quieted classroom and took my seat. As if on cue, a Dokyun sitting in the last row, whose name I didn't know, spoke up.
Nishijo, care to show us your psychic powers?
And with those two sentences, time started moving again in the classroom.
Not even bothering, he's just an attention whore. You think so? Didn't Yuri say he was legit?
Yeah, right. I forget. The Yuri guy. I've seen him on TV before. We lost some show and all, but his psychic powers are total bullshit.
Yeah, Nishijo would have to be a fake too, right? Yeah, totally. All he knows how to do is bang his blow-up doll and his small plastic one. Come on, lay off. Nishijo's retarded, that's all. So be nice.
I heard that he can fly and that he's got this other power. What's it called? Clairvoyance or something?
Oh god, what uses on me? You can see right through my clothes. Nishijo, you're such a perv.
Oh fuck, he's looking over here. Chris, look before he turns you to stone. Nah, don't worry about it. He's just some otaku freak. He can't hurt us.
This is hell. This is exactly what I'd feared the most. The Dokyans had their eyes on me now. It had been a week, but no one had forgotten about the uproar I'd caused. I was now the laughingstock of Japan. The boy who, after trying to show off his special powers to the masses, went home and slept with a figure. There's no point in protesting, saying that I'd never call myself an Esper. The truth was meaningless now. Right now, the truth was just the one story that everyone in Japan was familiar with. The story that tens of millions of people recognized to be the truth. There was no fixing that. No one could. Not me, not anyone on TV, not even Shogun. I was a self-proclaimed Esper that no one would ever associate with. An absolutely revolting male otaku, the biggest freak anyone had ever seen. Not a single person would ever look at me with anything other than disgust. I'd always hated TV shows that made fun of otakus, and now I just added fuel to that fire. I didn't have any psychic abilities. I couldn't fly. I didn't have clairvoyance. I didn't have telekinesis. I couldn't obtain a D-sword. I'd even given up on trying to save my sister just so I could save myself. Like the complete piece of shit I was. I was just an otaku that had nothing to show for his life other than his knowledge of anime, video games, and whatever other media. So it only made sense that I couldn't do it. I fought off my imminent mental breakdown and searched for my savior, Rimi. And when I did, my eyes met Misumi-kun's, only for him to immediately look away. I guess that was only fair. If you hung out with me, the entire class would shun you too. That's why he looked away. It was only natural. Besides, he and I always lived in two different worlds. I was an otaku and he was a total alpha male. It was a marvel that we ever been friends at all. Feeling like I was on the verge of tears, I went back to scanning the room. I searched for anything I could latch onto. Desperately cried out in my mind for Rimi. But she wasn't there. Rimi was nowhere to be found. Why? Was she just absent? Of all times for her to be gone, why now? I didn't have any way to get a hold of her. What if she never came to school again? If that happened, I'd likely never see her again for the rest of my life. That was the feeling I got. It was like that when she first appeared too. Back on the first day I saw her at school, Rimi was suddenly in my class, just like that. And now she disappeared just as quickly. Could she have gotten caught up in that earthquake? Could she be dead? I tried my best to shake off all those negative thoughts, but it was hopeless. I was just getting more and more depressed, and now my mind was being overwhelmed by an incredibly dark and foreboding delusion. I was starting to wonder if the girl known as Sakihara Rimi had ever existed at all. Maybe she was just another personality I created inside my delusions, like Seroton. When I thought of it like that, it all started to make sense. Yeah, I was honestly thinking that Rimi was just a delusion for a while, so... Whenever I needed help, Rimi always came to my rescue, like a knight in shining armor. Whenever everyone else would treat an otaku freak like me like trash, Rimi would treat me with kindness. I seriously believed that there was a 3D girl that was just so damn perfect for me. Someone that was pretty much my dream girl. Oh god. I had no reason to come to school anymore. My one and only reason was gone. I know I said I'd do more, but now I'm scared. I almost want to take it back. I don't want to. I don't want to look at this because I'm scared about how brutal this is going to end up becoming. This is going to be pain incarnate to look at, isn't it? Oh, I don't... I can already tell you that if I choose the positive delusion, it's just going to show Rimi just to yoink her back away. And I feel like if I choose the negative delusion, it's just going to show Rimi and her being absolutely vile towards Takumi. And I don't want to see either, to be honest with you. The anxiety and stress I'm feeling right now is extraordinarily high. I don't want to click either option, man. I almost regret saying that I'd do it all, but... Well, I didn't say I'd do every delusion. I just said that I'd do a bunch. I really was completely alone. Just like I'd always been. I'd always been completely and utterly alone. Started to cry inside my head. Maybe it'd be less painful if she just affirmed of the things, of the hatred. It took everything I had just to keep myself from crying in real life. That was all I could do to try and at least maintain some semblance of pride. But that was all it was, a semblance. I tried as hard as I could to keep my head down, grit my teeth, and stay in my seat. Even though I didn't want to hear them, I could hear all my classmates talking. I wanted to run away, but I was so too afraid that I would only make things worse. Every last one of you should just die. I had nothing left to lose. So why not just die doing what I loved to the very end? Why did I pick this option? This was a terrible idea. For example, screaming, lifting a chair in the air, and attacking a Dokun with it. It'd feel great to finally give those assholes what was coming to them. Stop. Oh god. Why did I do this? I stood up in a relaxed manner. The Doking bastards were still smirking me like always, unaware of the divine judgment that was about to befall them. I casually lifted up my chair. Holding above my head, I approached the Doking who had first started making fun of me. My sudden action caused the Doking to freeze, grin still on his face. Huh? I swung the chair down without a moment's hesitation, hitting the guy square on the head. I felt the chair collide with his skull. The Doking collapsed on the spot, and a puddle of blood spread out beneath him before I could even blink. For a moment, the classroom was completely silent. Then all hell broke loose. Every boy and girl screamed, looking at me with fear in their eyes, then turned and ran for their lives. The Doking who had collapsed at my feet was no longer moving. I swung down the chair with all my might once again. The Doking's body spasmed. But he didn't make a sound. He likely fainted. Perhaps he was already dead. I started to feel a little scared. If I stopped here, who knows when he'd get up and start attacking me instead. He was a Doking, so it might be carrying around a knife in his backpack. I had already given up on life, but I didn't want the end to be painful. I had to kill him. I couldn't stop until I was sure he was dead. I struck the Doking's head with a chair 3 more times. And again. And again. And again. And again. While still slumped down in my seat, I lost myself in that delusion. I don't know what would be more painful, that delusion or the positive one. The one where I get the feeling that they would, with the positive delusion would involve all the classmates like, oh, I'm so sorry, and... No. I can't swap. That felt pretty damn good. The gory splatter flick it just played out inside my head. I'd love to just beat them all to death right now. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the urge to do it. Maybe the moment I did something reckless like that, the simulation of the bad end would end, and the world would reset. And I would then return to the original world where I can make different choices. Rimi would be there. Misumi-kun would be talking to me in his normal, overly friendly manner. Everyone would have completely forgotten about my shameful behavior. No one would be making fun of me. Maybe I should try it. The center of my head felt fuzzy. I felt kind of feverish. Was this a fever you got before obtaining some new knowledge or power? Or was it some delusional fever? I didn't have a specific name for it if it was. Well, not like it mattered. Maybe I should try it. Even if I couldn't return to the original world, people would just think I was crazy. No, they probably already thought that. So it really didn't matter. It wasn't like I had anything to lose. A week ago, back when the nurse had told me that Nanami was still alive, I thought that as long as Nanami was alive, nothing else mattered. Even my life didn't matter. I didn't care if I was treated like some freak or sent to the nearest hospital. It'd be nice if I ended up in the same one as Ayase. Where had Ayase been admitted to, I wonder? Was it that penitentiary-like hospital she used to be in? Even that would be fine. Hell, that would be even slightly better than being in the school without Rimi. The urges within me bubbled like magma. I can no longer control them. I slowly stood up. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Everyone in the class stared at me, and their expressions stiffened. Don't look. There's no reason to look at a worthless piece of shit like me.
No, you have
Suddenly,
all sorts of worth.
I heard a girl's voice.
A whole bunch of it.
Not only that, it sounds straight out of an anime.
Who's the one who saved you? Saved the girl who tried to kill herself by jumping off the rooftop? You, Nishijo-kun. Which is why you have tons and tons of works, Nishijo-kun.
Who? Who the hell's talking to me? I looked around the room one more time. Everyone was all frozen in place due to my odd behavior, but they all kept their mouths shut. Couldn't find a single human being who was talking. But that voice... it was such a strange sensation. I felt like it was coming from directly inside my head. Was it an illusion? Or had I just crafted yet another delusional girl inside my head?
It's not an illusion at all, Z's. Not a delusion either.
Huh? What was that just now? They were responding to my thoughts. Was someone reading my mind? No, it had to just be a delusion.
Kazupi is right here.
That was like Kazupi. And where is here? Who are you? When I shouted, my classmates moved farther away from me, almost like they were trying to run away in fear.
You say you're worthless, Nishijo-kun, but Kazupi knows what's wrong. Super duper wrong.
The voice didn't answer my question. All the voice did was continue to talk to me in a really strange way.
Instead, all the other people in the classroom, the ones that talk all bad about Nishijo-kun, they're the ones that are worthless.
A shudder ran through me. Goosebumps sprang up on my skin. An extremely cheerful tone. The voice then said,
Kazupi thinks these. Killing them would be a good thing.
Please. No more. I cowered in my seat, cradling my head in my hands. The world hadn't reset. I hadn't returned to the parallel world where Rimi was. Rather, it was like I'd gone completely and utterly crazy. It had been a week since Ban had last visited the Frisia office, and things were a little bit different than he remembered. The seas of papers that had been piling atop each other in every desk were now completely absent. They had likely all come crashing down due to the earthquake, and Momose had ordered it to be cleaned up. Because of this, the place looked quite tidy. Staring at it with a sidelong look, Ban let out a sigh. Then he sat down in an office chair he had wheeled out from beneath the desk. He restlessly fanned his face with his favorite handheld fan. Mose, who had been tapping away at her laptop's keyboard on her desk, took one look at Ban's dismal appearance and scowled.
What? Did you just comment into silent me?
Hey, Momo-chan. Have you ever seen a magic trick where a sword pops straight out of thin air?
Can't say I'm all too familiar with magic.
Alright, then what about teleportation?
What, like something teleporting into a box?
No, not quite.
What on earth are you getting at? Are you trying to pick up some new potty trick?
No, and you don't really need to know. It's got nothing to do with you.
You're a real piece of work, you know that?
Mose shrugged her shoulders, then took a bite out of the kintsuba pastry Ban had offered her. Order up, Ibanatsu. Sue brought over 2 paper cups. Steam bellowed from the green tea that had been pouring into them.
Oh, forgive me for making you grab the tea for us, Suo-chan. Mio-chan came down with a cold and is taking the day off.
Not so good. With a cheerful smile on his face, he handed Momose and Ban each a paper cup. Sue had been taken to the office once before by Ban while they were on another case. Ever since then, Sue had come to look up to Momose as his mentor rather than his more direct superior, Ban. Momose also seemed to enjoy Sue's company, and she tended to speak to the young, honest man with a far kinder language than she did Ban.
Now refreshment's taken care of. What were you two talking about? I was asking how I could get us smart in the field of party tricks. You know, impress the local policewoman.
Wow, I can't believe I missed that.
Suo-chan, you know you can't keep hanging around such an awful detective forever. You really should try and fix yourself up with a better superior. If you don't, your path to success will instead send you careening straight off a cliff.
Make it sound like I'm dooming the kid.
Yes, that's the point. If you don't like it, then try treating your job more seriously.
It's certainly not for lack of trying.
Ignoring Ban's frown of disagreement, Momose held out the box of Kintsuba to Suwa.
Take a couple, Suwa-chan.
Thanks, miss.
Just so you know, I bought those with my own money.
Well then, sir, thanks for treating me. When he saw his subordinate bow his head and reach for the Kintsuba, Ban let out yet another sigh.
Tea time aside, I need you two to look over here.
The heck? A line graph appeared on the laptop screen. It had a gently undulating curve that rose and fell like the tide. Are these GE rates? Suwa, who had circled around behind Ban, peered at the graph and cocked his head.
What's with the graph? It's the GE rate of the general Shibuya area over the past year.
It is GE rate.
Don't you think it's odd?
It's seemingly spiked in the middle.
Aren't you the one who told us the average GE rate in Shibuya is higher than the rest of the world?
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm not sure if it's just my mind playing tricks on me, but I have this gut feeling that someone is manipulating the GE rate.
How would that be possible?
Not sure. But when I look at the graph, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something unnatural going on here. The numbers fluctuate far too much in these small increments. I went back about 10 years to investigate, and it's only been doing this for around the past 5 years or so.
If you look at the graph on the bottom right, it's kind of covered up by blending into the blue, but yeah, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down.
I think Professor Oda said something about that. What was it? Wasn't it something about how the GE rate's been increasing like mad over the past 6 months? Could that have something to do with it?
According to Professor Oda's research, the GE rate doesn't fluctuate in values that minuscule.
So you're saying there's some kind of anomaly other than that going on, and you've got a hunch that it's man-made? It's been 5 years, right? If it's been that long, wouldn't that make it more normal than abnormal?
There's one more thing. If you examine the graph in detail, you'll notice that the GE rate tends to increase every weekend.
Oh, really?
Oh, godsend for the business we got 2 days off a week. Doesn't help me much, though.
Yeah, it'd sure be nice to have the weekends off. I haven't had a day off for 2 months now. The two detectives hung their heads, to which Momose responded with a curt shake of her own.
Focus, boys. There's no time to be fooling around. Anyway, the line fluctuates at fixed intervals every week. But as soon as New Year's vacation, the Bond Festival, or other similar holidays come by, the fluctuations stop right on the dot. I can't help but think that it's the will of a man at play here.
Suppose humans are the only ones who'd have New Year's, the Bond Festival, and the like off. Plants and animals don't tend to take holidays.
Maybe it's the will of the Earth?
Will of the Earth? No, ain't that a good one? Even if such a thing was at play, why would the Earth be out here wishing us a Happy New Year?
I wasn't being serious.
If we disregard New Year's, we're left with the Bond Festival, an entirely Japanese custom.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's completely new to me. What's a Bond Festival?
So you're saying that the GE rate synchronizes with Japanese social activities?
Then it makes sense that Shibuya would be the scene, right?
Right, and take a look here and here.
Momose first pointed at the center of the line graph, then to the right where the most recent date was situated.
These two areas are awfully high, aren't they?
The rightmost one looks like it's setting a new record.
And it's not just the past year, but the past 10 years.
And what are the dates?
The middle one was 3 months ago. Remember the small earthquake that happened at the time?
Seismic intensity 3-1. 8 people died in it, if my memory serves me.
I'm going insane. I'm going insane. I'm going insane. It wasn't. No. 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 It wasn't a seismic 3, was it? No. They said it was 5 before. I swear they said it was 5.
Wait, what?
No, 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 no. 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 No? No. 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 I swear it said 5 before. No, it said that the one that happened... Wait, hang on. The middle one was 3 months ago. Remember the small earthquake that happened at the time? I am almost positive. I'm almost positive that that one was also an intensity 5. They said it was intensity 5. I swear they did. I swear they said it was intensity 5. Did they? Wait. Damn it! I don't know if... I don't know. I could have sworn it was... Am I wrong? I could have sworn it said it was an intensity 5. No, I need answers. No. This is gonna kill me from the inside out if I don't try and figure this out. I apologize. There's gotta be at least some point here in Chapter 6 where it mentions it. I refuse. Especially when compared to the 2005 earthquake, also seismic intensity 5, but this is not... No, 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 not yet. No, it was intensity 3? But it was. But I could have sworn... I could have sworn it said it was 5. I could have sworn... I thought it was 5. Oh god, I'm losing the plot here. Either I'm losing the plot or I'm losing my sanity. You know, I feel like this would be a good time to mention the kind of major difference I feel between this game and Steins Gate in terms of the kind of horror that they're implanting in you. In Steins Gate, it's almost like a more hopeless kind of horror in the sense of like you're fighting against time, against fate, like a hopelessness. In this game, though, the horror is that I don't know what's real anymore. I swear I remember one thing, but the game contradicts me a little later, and I can't remember anymore. Maybe I'm just the one that's dumb, but I swear... Wait, was I even wrong on the crucifixion, like how it occurred? I don't remember now. Anytime I try and make sense of something, I don't know.
Were they ever able to pin down the specific cause of death for the victims?
I don't know, did they? Ignoring the exchange between the two detectives, Mimose continued talking. As I was saying, the rightmost one is from the day of the earthquake.
Oh.
I assume you've heard about the large-scale electromagnetic waves that were given off on that day.
I heard that through the grapevine that all the computers in Shibuya were completely done in, but I don't know. All that tech stuff's Greek to me.
Wait a minute. I just had a really weird thought just now. One that could change a lot of things if I end up being right. All the computer stuff was incapacitated, right? All the electronic stuff was basically just ruined during that earthquake. Wouldn't that mean it'd be possible that... What if something on all those electronics changed? What if something on all those electronics changed to make something different? Like, I don't know. What if the time changed? If the time changed and no one knew, would the new time just become the truth? I don't know. Ever since then, the laptop I kept at Akiba Home's been shot, and I haven't had time to restore it. They say that the earthquake caused electromagnetic waves, but the truth may be the complete opposite. The electromagnetic waves caused the earthquake.
Whoa, they didn't say anything like that on TV or in the papers.
It's only speculation on my part, but I'd strongly considering it. I just can't help but feel that these two earthquakes aren't natural, that they're both man-made. Neither one of them are even remotely normal. The one from 3 months ago killed 8 people despite only being a seismic intensity 3 quake. And the one from 5 days ago, from a few days ago, killed 118 people despite only being a seismic intensity 5.
You're implying there's too many deaths.
It's like what you two were talking about earlier. The causes of death for the vast majority of victims are still unclear. The likely cause of death for those is something to do with how we saw before how some of the people who were hit by the earthquake, they didn't get shaken up or anything, but rather they started foaming at the mouth. Almost like they've just gone feral or comatose or something. That's incredibly unusual.
Well, I suppose so.
And on top of that, there's a rumor floating around that says the sky turned completely white.
Now you mention it, once a bit of time passed, there was next to no coverage on it.
Maybe there was some kind of pressure being placed on the media.
You're kidding. Maybe party?
That would be my first guess.
What? Are you serious?
Maybe it'd be a good idea to start looking into companies who got links to them.
Way out of here.
No surprise there, Momo-chan. You've always been quite the busy bee. So, what you got?
Mimose raised her hand skyward and stretched far and wide. Tilting her head slightly to the side, a satisfying pop sounded from her bones. No such luck. I've already thrown in the towel.
You? Thrown in the towel? I'm shocked, Momo-chan.
So your guess turned out to be wrong after all. Perhaps so. And I can assure you I've put in the work when it comes to researching. I've even placed my actual job on hold for it. I'm at the end of my rope. I'm not sure if it's all extremely well hidden, or if my guess is just wrong like Suba-chan suggested.
In times like these, there's an ironclad rule in the detective's handbook. Attack from a different angle.
Sir, do you have some kind of idea what might be going on? Van stopped the hand that was fanning himself, then wet his lips with his tongue.
Who do you think might benefit from the GE rate being higher on weekends?
Who would benefit? Who would benefit? I hadn't heard any more auditory illusions, but I couldn't bear to spend even another second in the classroom, so I booked it to the restroom and had to hid there until afternoon classes were over. The reason I hadn't immediately headed back to my base was not only because of my lingering regret, but also because I still hoped that I'd get to see Rimi. So after school, once everybody had left, I snuck back into the empty classroom. And there she was. All alone in the room, smiling at me as I walked in, was Rimi.
See, I've been waiting for you, Taku. Where have you been? Well, I'm ready to head home if you are.
I was hoping you'd say that. This is exactly what I'd wished for. But I was the only one in the classroom. Nobody was waiting for me. I made my way to the courtyard. It was here that Rimi had told me I'll stay by her side. But now there was no one here. My only companions were the purple flowers in the flower bed, swaying lonesomely in the autumn breeze. I grabbed the vermilion handkerchief out of my bag, the same one that Rimi had given me. I sniffed it, hoping to smell her familiar floral scent. But that smell never came. I had likely washed it once before, and in the process, erased every trace of her. It was just a regular handkerchief now. The memory lingered, but Rimi did not. With every part of me crying out to see her.
なんて
There. I simply wandered around the school grounds.
なんて救いよ
There
うが
really
ない
is
んだ
no hope for me, is there?
僕って
Holding her handkerchief to my mouth the entire time. I disgusted myself so much I felt like I was going to vomit. After leaving the school, I began to walk around aimlessly. I didn't care about anything anymore. My fears about being attacked by Shogun or Yua or whoever else had completely vanished. I even found myself wishing that they would kill me. As long as it wasn't painful, but I welcomed it. My mental state had been completely overtaken by depression. When my gaze happened upon it, the center of Shibuya was so bleak. It only served to accelerate my depression all the more. Not a single smile could be seen on the people walking down the street. All they did was scowl grimly at their surroundings. It gave the place a particularly stark atmosphere, one where it felt as if a fight could break out between the passerby at any moment. Stores that would normally be filled to the brim with people had their shutters practically bolted to the ground. Just by walking aimlessly through Shibuya, I'd already come across a ton of them. I also noticed that there were less cars on the road than usual. The jumbotrons that had always blared through the streets were now completely silent. And in their place were the incessant sounds of police sirens, car horns, and various cars screeching in the distance. There wasn't a single trace of the mess I'd caused in front of the station a week ago. Even if I hadn't disappeared from people's memories yet, the city's memories may have long since driven me into obscurity. How nice it would be if I, too, could wipe away my memories. To know nothing. To be ignorant. To remain a fool. I'm sure a person like that lived a life full of sunshine and roses. Ignorance is a sin. People claim ignorance is bliss, but that's simply naive. I had a feeling Satan had said that to me. But was it really so wrong? Being naive? People, me, none of us are that strong. I was always wishing for someone to save me. I couldn't do anything on my own. I didn't want to. I stood in the middle of the road and closed my eyes. The most agonizing thing about all this was that I barely understood what was actually going on. Things like Shogun or D-swords were things I didn't want to know, but I ended up learning about them regardless. However, if you were to ask me what they were, I wouldn't even be able to answer. I didn't know the answer. Maybe I should just die. Looking to the top of the old front building, I thought that to myself. If I were to die, maybe my memories would reset and I would get to play again. Hey, person controlling me, what do you think? This current playthrough is a complete and utter failure. You made a mistake by allowing your joke of a character to grow in levels. You should have made me more like a hero. You should have made me actually cool. You should have made me more sociable, respectful of women. You should have given me a passionate sense of justice that would allow me to empower the weak. As I am now, I can't beat the final boss. I can't beat the game. I can't do anything. So please don't expect me to. Just reset the game. Please. I'm worthless like this. erase me. I wasn't erased. Instead, I felt the impact of someone bumping into my shoulder.
Hey, you're in the middle of the damn sidewalk.
I thought it was just an auditory illusion. Earlier this morning, I had heard a girl version of that line, and now it was a guy version. Who asked for that? I'd rather hear a much more moe voice. Then again, if they were to whisper something sexy in my ear, I'd stop it.
Don't ignore me, you piece of shit.
You're us motherfucker. You're Nishijo, ain't you? How about that? Looks like we got ourselves a fake Esper, boys. You're on TV the other day. Probably fucking loaded from the royalties.
Little people when they're talking to you, Esper-kun.
I opened my eyes. There were 3 men standing all around me. All 3 of them were wearing baggy clothing, and they had gold, silver, and red hair. 2 of them had their noses and ears pierced, and the remaining one just had their ears pierced. One of them was a Ganguro, which I thought had gone completely extinct before now. There's a death flag, I thought to myself. So this was the bump into confrontation kind of death flag, huh? It really was just one after the other today. Whatever. I don't even care anymore. Just hurry up and kill me. Once you do, the game will reset, and I'll be born anew. Do you have a knife on you? Make sure to stab me in a way that I die instantly, alright? I was so scared my legs were shaking. Help me. I shouted that instinctively. If I'd been closer to a scream, I didn't care how it made me look. Someone help me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I was lying about not caring anymore. My situation might be hopeless, but I still don't want to die.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, the Dokians covered my mouth. I couldn't speak anymore. They grabbed my arms from both sides.
Make a single fucking peep. I'll end you right now.
I stopped resisting. They dragged me to a deserted alleyway no one would go anywhere near, grinning the entire time. So I decided to launch a preemptive strike against the 3 men. I'm sorry. I got down on my hands and knees and apologized in a shaky voice. I'll give you all the money you want. So please, just let me go. I held my wallet to them. The Dokian snatched it from me.
Oh, you know, you are fucking though. You're that Esper boy that keeps on giving. You're a real nice guy. I like you.
Still on my hands and knees, I breathed a sigh of relief when he said that. If he liked me, he was probably going to let me go.
You can become one of us. Mission fees 1 million yen, and it's mandatory. I'd ask you to pay right away, but I'll give you until tonight. Well, since I'm such a nice guy, I'll slash the fee in half if you show us one of your Esper powers. What do you say, huh? Told you to show us your psychic power. Can't get it up?
Can you fucking do it or not?
I felt a sharp pain jolt through my side. It felt like he'd broken my ribs. I couldn't breathe. I nearly lost consciousness. I was dizzy. As I thought that, the Dokian's foot came into view in front of me. Then aiming directly at my face, his shoe shot toward me at a tremendous speed. What just happened? I thought I felt an agonizing pain radiating from my face, but it might have just been a delusion. I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids refused to move. The darkness wouldn't go away.
Fuck you already? What do you know? Should we leave him and take off? Come on, don't you think we should rough him up a bit more? That's what the Darth Spire guy told us to do. Yeah, he wants to beat the living shit out of him. They hate this guy so much they're willing to pay someone else to do it. They can't be fucked to do it themselves. Which is why, let's get going on, right on. Hold it against us.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to kill them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to kill them.
Hey, what the fuck are you doing? This is a fucking joke, right? What is that? Hey, stop! Stop! Stop it! No!
What just happened? Oh, Jesus Christ! The pale evening sun shone through the window of the hospital room. The light singed red by the twilight divided the room into two distinct parts, one captivated by light, and one dominated by darkness. And what was illuminated by that light was a bed adorned with pure white sheets. On the bedside table sat a handheld video game console. A number of academic books lined a nearby shelf, neighbored by the muted pink petals of an arrangement of cosmos flowers resting in a vase. The room was neat and tidy. Nothing moved. Nothing stirred. It was a space where time seemed to have come to a complete stop. The window cut into the evening sky, and by that window was a small figure sitting in a wheelchair. The figure's back to the window. He remained still and motionless. His breathing was so light, and the intervals between each breath were so long, one might think he was already dead. His skin was covered with wrinkles. His cheeks were hollow. His eye sockets were sunken in. His scalp was barren. With these features, it was often questioned whether he should be referred to as a young boy or an old man. His shadow, which he had dubbed Shogun, extended all the way to the door of the room. His shadow? The world then moved for the first time. The door slowly opened, and a figure emerged from the darkened corridor, stepping foot into the room steeped in evening glow. Sakihara Rimi did not fully enter the hospital room, instead choosing to remain at the entrance. Her expression, illuminated by the setting sun, detailed how the girl had been deep in thought.
もう
Can we stop now?
やめよう。残念だけど
I'm sorry to say this, but
あの彼は
that boy, Nishijo Takumi,
西条
should just be
匠は
erased.
Shogun remained motionless in response to her words. Why should Takumi be erased?
どうして
Why do you think so?
危険だから
He's dangerous.
Rimi's voice was laden with grief and sorrow. Her eyes appeared slightly moist.
私が
Can I erase him?
消そうか
ダメだよ
No, you can't. Rimi was unable to confirm whether or not he was actually moving his mouth to speak.
彼には
There's something he must
や
do
って
for
もら
me.
わなくちゃいけないこと
Rimi hung her head, then gently ran her fingers through her hair that draped down before her.
例えば
Can you remember your dreams?
あなたは
Yes.
そっか
Oh,
私
I forget
す
them
ぐ
soon
忘
after I
れちゃ
wake
うん
up.
だ
できる人と
Some people can
で
remember
きない
them,
人がいる
and some people can't.
できる人は
People who
Oh.
can
ロマンチス
must
ト
be
なん
real
だね
romantics.
すごく長い
I often have very,
長い
very
夢を
long
よく見るよ
dreams.
見ている間は
They can feel like several years have
何年にも
passed
感じら
by
れる
as I dream them.
私も
I used to have ones like that too.
そうだった
Or at least I
気
feel
が
like
す
I
る
did.
でも
But
それは
that's just
幻
an illusion.
実際の時間
In
としては
reality, dreams only take
寝
up
てい
2 or
るう
3
ちの
seconds of your
ほん
time
の
as you're
2、3秒
sleeping.
程度のものなんだって心の歌
They're like
方
bubbles,
なの
flowing to the surface of your mind.
だから
And that's why
早く目覚め
you
て
need to hurry and wake up.
出ないと
If you don't, then
い
someday
つかあなたは
Nishijo Takumi is going to kill
西
you.
条匠に殺され
それでも構
Even
わ
if
ない
that
よ
were to happen, I would be at peace with it.
夢から覚めるわ
This
け
is a
に
dream from which I cannot awaken.
この夢は
I must see it through.
完結させなくちゃ
完結した夢
After the
の後
dream
に
is
は
complete, will there be
何が
anything
残るの
left?
After the dream is complete. My shoulder was shaken softly. I feel like I'm losing my mind. but we'll have to save it till later. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you all later. Peace.